Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Bank Shot Breakdown. We're going to go over 5 college basketball games for Tuesday, January 17th, 2023. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, you can always find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Tuesday in college basketball. First up, we're going to look at UNLV and Utah State. This one's going to be 9 o'clock Eastern in the Mountain West Conference. UNLV started this season 10-0. They had 2 top 100 wins in non-conference play against Washington State and Dayton, but they have lost 4 of their last 5 games now, and they're 1-4 in conference play. So, this team is struggling a little bit. Their last 2 games, they lost to Boise State and Colorado State. Now, in those 4 losses, those 4 recent losses, 2 of those games were in overtime. They were very close games, 75-72, 82-81. So UNLV's played in some close games, and like we know, they had success at the beginning of the season. This is one of the better defensive teams in the Mountain West Conference. Not only are they 52nd in the country in adjusted defensive efficiency, but they're also 2nd in the nation in turnover percentage on defense. Utah State's a great offensive team. Really, there's one of the better shooting teams in the country this season. They're number 1 in the nation in three-point shooting, number 13 in effective field goal percentage. But I do think that defense has some room to improve. And we've seen their last 3 games, 2 losses to Boise State and Nevada in games where they gave up 80-plus points. I do worry about laying a big number like this in a conference game with a defense that's not really playing very good basketball. Now, the offense is great. Like I said, this is a team that can shoot from basically anywhere on the court, but UNLV's defense keeps it competitive in these types of games. I do think UNLV is a lot better than that 1-4 conference record. I think this is going to be a really close game, pretty entertaining game. I'm going to take the points here with UNLV. Next up, we stay in the Mountain West Conference as Wyoming takes on Air Force. This one's going to be 9 o'clock Eastern as well. Wyoming has had a disappointing season thus far. That's for sure. They're 5-12 this season, 0-5 in conference play. Last year's team had an amazing season. They were 25-9 overall, 13-5 in Mountain West action. So, we knew that this team was losing a few key pieces from last year's roster. We knew it wasn't going to be as good of a year, but I still think Wyoming would have hoped for and expected more than where they're at right now. But I still think that Air Force is the weakest team in the Mountain West Conference. And yes, they're 2-3 in conference play, and they have the much better overall record at 11-7. But when you look at Air Force and their strength of schedule, 326th overall in the country, and then 362nd, the second easiest schedule in non-conference play. Air Force really has not been battle tested this year. Wyoming certainly has. They're ranked 76th in the country in strength of schedule, and they just played the 4 toughest teams in the Mountain West in New Mexico, San Diego State, Utah State, and Boise State. So there are a couple really close games in that mix. The game against New Mexico was a game I think Wyoming should have won. They had a lead late. They blew it, but they lost by 1 point, covering the number for us. They lost to San Diego State by only 5 points. So we know that Wyoming is able to compete. Noah Reynolds is healthy and playing for Wyoming. Then there's still some other injuries to worry about, but I still think Wyoming's offense good enough here. I also think this defense is really underrated. They've been, I think, one of the unluckiest defenses in college basketball this year. I don't think Air Force has enough to cover this number. I actually think Wyoming's going to win this game outright, but if you're going to give me those points, I'm going to take the value. Give me the Cowboys here plus the points. Next up, we go to the MAC as Ohio takes on Toledo. This one's going to be 7 o'clock Eastern. To me, this is a battle of 2 teams that aren't really worried about the defensive end. Ohio's ranked 200th in the country right now in adjusted defensive efficiency. Toledo 298th, but I do think Toledo is the far better offensive team. This is the 16th ranked adjusted offensive efficiency team. Great shooting roster that takes care of the basketball. Pretty good in the offensive glass as well. Gets to the free throw line. A great free throw shooting team. We've seen Toledo put up 100 points already this season in conference play in their 102-74 win over Western Michigan. Last time out, 84 points on the road against Northern Illinois. I think Toledo's going to be able to score 80-plus points in this game, maybe even get into the 90s, as Ohio's defense just hasn't been good enough. Not a good rebounding team on the defensive side. They don't force many turnovers. They're not good in the perimeter defense. So, I do think Toledo's pace of play is going to help them a lot in this game, scoring a ton of points. And Ohio may be able to go score for a little while, maybe in the first half, but for a full 40 minutes on the road, I just don't see it. Ohio's lost 3 of its last 4 games, and they played some weaker teams as well. And although they lost to Kent State, a tough team last time out, they lost to Buffalo and Bowling Green, giving up 88 points to Bowling Green. Not what you want to see from this Ohio defense. So Give me, and Ohio also, I want to mention, this is a team that's really struggled in their true road games and away from home. You look at their losses on the road this season: Belmont, Detroit Mercy, Michigan, Marshall. Florida was a semi-road game. Buffalo, Bowling Green as well. Some tough teams in that mix, but then you look at their road wins. They only have 2 of them, Youngstown State and Delaware. So this team has not been good enough on the road. The defense is not going to hold up, in my opinion. Give me Toledo laying the points. Next up, we see UMass and VCU. This one's going to be 7 o'clock Eastern. VCU is rolling right now. They're coming off another win over Dayton, an upset victory. They were down by as many as 16 points in that game. They found not only the cover, but the victory in the end, 63-62. The previous games for VCU, in that one, before that one, Loyola Chicago and Davidson, 2 double-digit wins, 89-72 and then 78-64. VCU is shooting the lights out of the ball right now. Their last 3 games, 40% or better from three-point range. But I just don't think that we can expect to see that from VCU on a consistent basis. This is still an offense that's not great on paper, and in the numbers, 187th in adjusted offensive efficiency, 328th in turnover percentage on offense. I don't expect VCU to be able to score that many points against most opponents in the A-10 conference. And because of their most recent wins, because of their 3-game win streak and the upset win on the road against Dayton, I do think that this number is a little bit inflated, and I do think the value is on the other side against a UMass team that has a very solid, very well-coached team, very solid defense, and it's actually a pretty good shooting team themselves. I mean, you look at guys like Noah Fernandez and TJ Weeks already shooting over 40% from 3 this season. I think UMass's defense is good enough here. I think they're a very good rebounding team, and I think the offense is a lot better than what we've seen thus far. To me, I just wouldn't want to lay this kind of number with a team like VCU that plays in a lot of low-scoring games and a team that we can't always expect their offense to show up. We've seen plenty of games this season and in years prior where VCU's offense has scored under 60 points, and we're really not too surprised. This could be one of those spots. I think we're going to see a very low-scoring game, a competitive game. I'm going to take the points here with UMass. And the final game we're going to talk about for Tuesday's card of college basketball, it's going to be Kentucky and Georgia. This one's going to be 9 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. Kentucky was having a really rough time in the SEC. They were 1-3 to start conference play. They were 10-6 overall, which is not a bad record, but for a team like Kentucky, you expect a lot more. They had an upset loss to South Carolina where they lost by 3 points, and South Carolina went crazy from 3 in that one, 11 of 20. It was a really terrible start to conference play for Kentucky, but then everything changed when they took down Tennessee on the road, an upset win over the Vols, 63-56. And now, just like that, the season has really turned around for Kentucky, and you've got a chance to do big things in the conference and going forward. And this is a big game against Georgia, a team that's been sneaky in the conference this season. They're 13-4 overall. They're 3-1 in conference play. They have a win over Auburn. They took down Mississippi State and Ole Miss. But I don't like their chances in this game at all, really. In a true road spot against a fired-up Kentucky team, I do think that this Georgia offense is quite a bit overrated. This is a team that's benefited from some really good shooting performances against some of the weaker teams in the conference thus far. And we've also seen Georgia's defense, ranked 53rd right now in adjusted defensive efficiency. I don't think that's going to hold up when it just comes to allowing teams to have really good shot opportunities on the other end. Georgia has benefited from their opponents shooting poorly against them. I mean, right now, Georgia's 3-point defense is ranked 8th in the country. Teams are only shooting 27.7% from 3. How much of that is actually Georgia's defense compared to teams just missing wide open shots? I think it's a little bit of both, but I do think Kentucky is the far better team in this one. It's a very tough place to play, a team that's really good on the offensive glass, which Georgia, right now this season ranked 147, so in defensive rebounding. I think we're going to see Kentucky have a classic blowout win at Rupp Arena. Give me Kentucky here laying the points. And that's it. Those are the games for Tuesday in college hoops. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bet, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.